rendering unto Caesar and God, authority, idolatry, and the need for transcendence. When Jesus said, "Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and unto God what is God's," he was not offering a narrow comment about taxes or civic duty. He was drawing a boundary. He was establishing a hierarchy of allegiance. He was saying that worldly authority is real, but it is never ultimate. Caesar may govern the body and the public square, but he does not own the soul. That statement is quietly radical. It affirms political order while denying it divine status. It legitimizes government while placing a limit on its reach. It reminds us that no state, no ideology, and no identity has the right to demand total allegiance. Something higher always stands above it. In the language of Augustine, this is an ordering of loves. When our loves are rightly ordered, society functions. When they are not, when something finite is treated as infinite, disorder follows. Today, we live in a moment where traditional metaphysical frameworks have weakened. In their absence, postmodern culture has attempted to relocate meaning and authority elsewhere. Politics, identity, personal authenticity, and even technology have stepped in to fill the vacuum. Each contains partial truth. But when any of them is treated as ultimate, it collapses under a weight it was never meant to bear. In the postmodern age, rendering unto Caesar no longer means giving Caesar his due. It increasingly means giving Caesar everything. One way this happens is through the elevation of politics into the highest source of truth. The philosopher Michel Foucault argued that what societies call truth is often produced by power. Knowledge, in his view, is shaped by systems of dominance rather than objective reality. There is insight here. Power can disguise itself as reason. Institutions can impose narratives that serve their interests. But when this insight becomes a total worldview, something dangerous happens. If all truth is power, then morality becomes nothing more than politics by another name. There is no standard above the struggle for dominance. Jordan Peterson has warned repeatedly about where this leads. When political identity becomes the highest good, disagreement turns into moral warfare. Opponents are no longer people with different views. They become enemies. Society becomes a zero-sum contest where victory justifies everything. History offers sobering examples. Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union both elevated political systems into objects of worship. The state became sacred. The party became infallible. Atrocities were not just permitted, they were morally justified. This is what happens when Caesar is no longer a servant, but a god. Another postmodern substitute for transcendence is the self. Modern culture tells us that meaning is found through self-creation, self-expression, and authenticity. We are told that we must define ourselves, invent ourselves, and assert our identities against all external limits. This idea traces back to existentialist thinkers like Jean-Paul Sartre, who argued that we create ourselves through radical freedom. In contemporary culture, it shows up as therapeutic relativism, where the highest good is personal expression and the greatest sin is judgment. But this vision of the self comes at a cost. Charles Taylor has described this condition as the malaise of immanence. When meaning is sealed within the individual, life becomes fragile. The burden of creating purpose rests entirely on the psyche. There is no appeal beyond the self. Peterson describes this psychologically as chaos. Without a hierarchy of values grounded in something higher than the individual, the ego swings between narcissism and despair. Every disagreement feels like an attack on one's identity. Every criticism feels existential. The self cannot bear the weight of divinity. When identity becomes sacred, communities fracture. There is no shared standard to resolve conflict. The attempt to become godlike leaves the individual isolated and anxious. As C.S. Lewis warned, when a person becomes their own god, the result is not freedom, but loneliness. A third modern authority emerges through technocratic rationalism. This is the belief that science and technology can answer not only how we live, but why. Data, algorithms, and efficiency become arbiters of truth. Human meaning is reduced to measurement. This worldview is not exactly postmodern, but it shares the same rejection of transcendence. It offers mastery without purpose. Yuval Noah Harari has described a future where dataism replaces moral reasoning, where algorithms know us better than we know ourselves. The philosopher Alasdair MacIntyre warned that when moral language is severed from its purpose, it collapses into emotivism. We speak as though we are reasoning, but we are really expressing preferences. Technology can optimize systems, but it cannot tell us what is good. It can explain the brain, but it cannot explain why life matters. The result is a strange emptiness. We gain information but lose wisdom. We achieve comfort but struggle to explain why we should care. Against all of these competing authorities, Christianity offers something different. It insists on a transcendent source of meaning that both grounds and limits the temporal world. To render unto Caesar what is Caesar's is to respect political and social order. To render unto God what is God's is to recognize that ultimate allegiance lies beyond the state, beyond the self, and beyond the machine. This distinction protects human dignity. It prevents politics from becoming totalitarian, identity from becoming tyrannical, and reason from becoming dehumanizing. Jordan Peterson has described the divine logos as the principle that unites order and chaos, truth and meaning. When transcendence is acknowledged, values fall into proper alignment. Politics serves justice rather than domination. The self pursues virtue rather than endless self-assertion. Reason serves wisdom rather than control. C.S. Lewis captured this structure when he warned that abandoning transcendence leads humanity to abolish itself. When we reject higher meaning, we reduce ourselves to material, power, and will. But when we acknowledge divine primacy, reason and agency are not lost. They are elevated. Rendering rightly means knowing what belongs where. Caesar governs, but he does not save. The self matters, but it does not define reality. Science explains much, but it cannot tell us what we are for. When transcendence is forgotten, politics becomes religion, identity becomes idol, and technology becomes priesthood. Each contains fragments of truth, but none can hold the whole. The Christian vision, by distinguishing heaven from earth while holding them in proper relation, offers a corrective. It preserves freedom by binding it to responsibility. It preserves dignity by grounding it in something unchanging. As Jordan Peterson has said, if you do not place something above you, you cannot orient yourself below. The transcendent God, not Caesar, must remain the measure of man. Otherwise, we render everything to Caesar, and in doing so, lose ourselves entirely.